Hey there YouTube, I'm Not So Super Fraz, and today we are in Final Fantasy XIV with something a little bit different today. So I've been doing a lot of relic grinding, and I'll be completely honest, I'm not really feeling up for running a lot of dungeons and things like that today. But I do want to kind of talk a little bit about some of my favourite classes in the game. I was debating on making this. I wasn't sure if people would maybe find this entertaining, but I wanted to take a little bit of time just kind of talk about some of my favourite classes, because I've been playing this game now coming up to 10 years. I've been playing since 2.0 beta, and in that time I've actually got all my classes maxed out. I'm quite well versed in all of them. Like, you could drop me in a dungeon, say, Fraz, could you play a bard? I could play bard to a decent degree. Could I play white mage? I could play it to a decent degree. Could I gunbreaker to a decent degree? And I feel like I can do that. So I wanted to talk about some of my favourite classes, because actually during this grind that I'm doing for the relics, and I'll also say as well at time of recording, I'm actually on my final relic. I have one more amazing Manderville to get, so by the time this goes out, my grind will be done, which is quite crazy to think. I've been grinding for 15 days consecutively. This is actually day 16. And yeah, like, I'm going to be finishing up this grind fairly soon. I've got a few hundred tomes already, so I need about 1,000 more. And then that's me got my last Manderville. So anyway, my favourite classes. So I'm going to try to break this down into kind of your tank, healer, melee DPS, range DPS, caster DPS. And I'm going to keep it at one each, but I might have an honourable mention, because as I said, I've been playing a lot of the classes during this grind, and I've actually got a newfound appreciation for some. So let's start off with the tanks, and also as well, like, I think I mentioned this, like, this is down to how they look, playability, maybe are they a nice challenge, etc. So first up, tanks. You might know this from my Not So Super guide, but one of my favourite tanks to play is Dark Knight, which is this one. So why is Dark Knight so fun for me personally? I think for me, it's got a really nice aesthetic to it. Like, it looks badass. Like, in terms of how it plays, it is one of the more challenging tanks, if not the most challenging. It is a quite tricky one to get a grips with, because when you're doing like big pulls in dungeons, you've maybe not got as many defensive things going for you, because you've got Blackest Night on cooldown, which is every 15 seconds. So you've got to make sure you work around keeping your Blackest Night going as long as you can. But yeah, for the aesthetic, it just looks really nice. Like, there is a really intimidating presence with Dark Knight, I feel. And I'll tell you a little story. One day I was doing my raid roulette, and I got put into a phantom train. So it was me and the warrior for the other tank. The warrior had zoned in, turned on his tank stance, he was ready to main tank it. I zoned in, I hadn't said anything, but like, this dude basically went, he came in, he was like, okay, he's in, he's gonna tank. It's like, yep, he's ready to go. I zoned in, he took one look at me, and then all of a sudden I see tank stance came off. I intimidated the guy so much as a Dark Knight, he basically turned off his tank stance and went, nope, I ain't tanking this, nope, we've got a Dark Knight here, yep, you can do it fam, you're Gucci, like, you go for it. I didn't even say anything in the chat, I was just that freaking intimidating. But then again, when you do have a Zweihander the size of a child, especially this one, like, so for those curious what weapon this is the Xiphias Eureka. This was the first ever Stormblood relic I finished. I've got a Samurai Eureka as well, but this was my first ever one for Stormblood. And I remember seeing it and I went, I want it, and then I remembered I had to do Eureka and I started to cry. I think I got this quite quick. I think I got it in like a week. So it is a really fun class. It's tricky, but it's a nice challenge. So I would say if you're looking for a tank that's maybe a bit trickier, that maybe forces you to use your brain a bit more, like, Dark Knight is definitely one of the more kind of fun options. Like, I personally enjoy a class that's quite challenging. Like, I don't like classes that are maybe a bit too easy, or like, I feel as if I don't really need to put as much brain power into. One, I guess, example of this is Warrior. So if you don't know about Warrior, Warrior is self-sustained god. This class is an absolute monster for self-sustained. Like, this class makes healers redundant in some dungeons, and I'm not even joking. Because with this ability here, Bloodwetting, if you're taking on big pools, so say you've got like 8 enemies in a big pool, for every enemy you hit, you get 400 cure potency. So 8 enemies, 400, so that's what, I don't know, 8, 16, 24. So that's like 3,200 cure just in one attack. So this class is beefy. So personally for me, Warrior's maybe not as fun for me because I feel like it is too easy. Like, I suppose if you want an easy time, you want to just switch your brain off, it's good for that. But as I said, I'm a bit of a challenger. I like a good challenge, and this class brings it for me. So, what's the damage like for Dark Knight? It's a bit of a weird one. Like, it can certainly max out the DPS compared to other tanks. Its opener is one of the biggest hitting. But after that, I feel as if the damage... the damage of this class goes to from like 150% in the opener to like 70% in your 1, 2, 3 rotation. It kind of goes from the highest of highs to lowest of lows, and that's where I maybe feel like a buff could be put into Dark Knight just to kind of make it a bit more powerful, because I do feel as if like you do your Living Shadow and then that's on cooldown for 2 minutes, whereas whereas for Gunbreaker I've been playing, like you've got double down, which is your biggest hit, and that's every minute. So for 2 minutes, like, you're basically getting a lot more double down send. It's better damage. It's like, Dark Knight is a tricky one. Like, but as I say, I do enjoy it. It's also seen as a very, very good off tank in raids, which is, you know, like when a lot of the kind of, I think it was like PAS, a lot of people were struggling with that. They kind of were forced to take on a Dark Knight because it just had that bit better kind of maximum damage output, that they went for that over, like, because I think if you went with Warrior and Paladin, like, you were struggling, whereas a lot of groups went for Gunbreaker Dark Knight because it just had that better damage output. So that's Dark Knight, but I do have an honourable mention because I've been playing this class a lot during my Relic grind, and I think it's probably one of my top 3 most played, Gunbreaker. Now, this is very rapidly becoming one of my favourite tanks, and I've done a little bit of research. I actually play better on Gunbreaker than I do Dark Knight. Dark Knight's my main. This is not. And yet I play better as a Gunbreaker than I do a Dark Knight. So, as I said I was going to keep it at 1 each, but this deserves a mention because I've been loving this class. So, Gunbreaker feels like 3 DPSs in a trench coat. The damage output in this is absolutely staggering. This thing has flashy buttons that go burr, like, all day long. Like, its double down is probably the best attack for big pools, because with double down, it's 1200 potency and 15% less for all the remaining enemies. Like, usually attacks tend to do like 50% less or some to that degree. Double down just feels like a monster. I mean, 25k damage, that's without no mercy. If I'd put no mercy on, that would have been 20%, so that could have been an extra 5k. That would have been like 30k damage. So Gunbreaker is really fun. In Shadowbringers I feel it was a bit squishy because I healed, was it Malik as well, and I had a Gunbreaker and it just felt super squishy. Once you get into Endwalker, you get this ability called Heart of Corundum, and this thing is an absolute godsend. This is basically like a Scholar's Excognition, or however you pronounce it. It's basically an Excog for a Gunbreaker. Like, when your HP falls below 50%, you get a 900 cure, which I think is about 20k, I want to say. Like, let me check. I think it's 20k or so. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, you get Clarity, which reduces your damage taken. You then get Heart of Corundum, which like is another 15%, so 30% down, and then your cure is 16k. Okay, so I was 4k out. But when you have that going, it just feels like a really strong class. Like, and as I said, this class has got flashy buttons all day. Like, you've got your 2 here, you've got your double down when it flashes up, your continuation, you've got your fated circle. Like, this class just feels so strong. Like, and as I said, I've been playing this a lot in my relic grind. It's probably became one of my top 3 most played classes, and there's just something about it that just makes it feel so fun. Like, Paladin is very straightforward to play now. Warrior is good for switching the brain off. Dark Knight's the challenge. This is just flashy as all hell, and I love it. Gunbreaker is just flashy. It has a lot of good damage. It has good dots. Like, this class like has very, very quickly become a favourite, and I've actually been debating about my main tank, and I'm very tempted to make Gunbreaker my main tank now. That's how much I've enjoyed it. Now, there is a running joke. I change my main class every 5 minutes. But when I see Dark Knight, and then I see Gunbreaker, and I see how much better I perform on Gunbreaker as a whole, yeah, there is a temptation to say, you know what, I think I'm going to go Gunny now. It's so good, and as I said, I'm loving it. Like, it's probably the most fun I've had playing a tank ever. Like, it just feels amazing to play. Like, Dark Knight, I love it with all my heart. It's always going to remain one of my favourite classes. But yeah, Gunbreaker just... It just oozes damage. It's flashy as hell. It just looks so good. And, like, I dyed, like, my Mandeville weapon for this. And I'll see if I can go into my G-pose and give you, like, a good kind of zoom in on it. Yeah, Ali, I don't want you doing that. Hold up, let me do this. No, lean, set. There we go. Then try and kind of get a bit of space as well. But yeah, like, this is the amazing Mandeville. Look at that dyed black. It really makes a weapon pop that a little bit more. Like, it's so good. And also as well for the glam, this is actually my old Dark Knight glam, and decided to bring it back for Gunny, and it just looks so nice. Like, this also worked as a really good Dark Knight glam. A lot of people liked it, but Dark Knight now I've kind of gone for the more sort of red kind of vibe to it. Just kind of give it something new. So, that's me and my tanks. So, Dark Knight is a favourite of mine. Always will be a favourite of mine. But Gunbreaker, it might be the main tank now. It very well could be. And for good reason. This class is awesome. So, with tanks out the way, healers. Now, healers is a really weird one because I play 3 of the 4 healers quite well. The only healer I'm maybe not as keen on is White Mage personally. White Mage isn't really a favourite. It's a good class if you're looking for just straightforward press this to heal. Like, it's pretty beefy. Like, the heals on it are pretty good. But what is my favourite healer? It's Astrologian. This might be a surprise to a lot of people, but Astrologian is by a mile my favourite healer. So what is it about Astrologian that I like? I think for me personally, it just looks like a really pretty class. Like, it's got all the stars and sparkles. Like, it looks really pleasing to the eye when you see some of the hits. Like, so you've got, for example, Earthly Star. So I'll bring it out here. So Earthly Star is like, it's preparing for the big hit to come, and then we'll heal it once it lands. This class is more about preparing for the big hits as opposed to, like, to put in a sense, they're solving the problem before it even comes. Like, they're a preventer of damage. Like, instead of kind of, like, healers kind of being like, okay, we've got damage, you hit, let me heal that up. This almost heals the damage before it even happens. And that's why I love it. Like, I think I kind of put it bluntly when I say it unboo-boos all the boo-boos before the boo-boos even happen. Like, it pretty much heals everything before they even land. And I like it. Like, it might not be the biggest hitter. I think I've spoken about this on Twitter. I would like to see a bit more damage on it. Maybe even just like 500 damage to its full Malefic. But it heals well. And we need to talk about one ability with Astrologian that I think a lot of people don't realise is very powerful. And it's this one. Macrocosmos. I keep hitting that dummy. So, what is Macrocosmos? It is basically, if you use it right, it is basically a benediction for your full party. Macrocosmos deals damage, but that's not really its main purpose. Its main purpose is to heal. So when you are granted Macrocosmos through this spell, all the damage you take, so say you take 100,000 damage, 50% of that is then collated. It is compiled, so you take 100k damage, 50k of it is taken. You then get a 250 cure potency added, a 200 cure potency added, and if you use it right, this spell is essentially a benediction your entire party. And there's a couple of good times to use it. One is against Scarmiglione, when he does his Conqueror's Pitch. You pop that, he does his Conqueror's Pitch, hits everyone, everyone's full health after it lands. It is a very, very broken skill. How broken? It has made a... there's a DPS or a heal check, I think it was not in P3S, it made it completely redundant. You just cast Macrocosmos and it just healed everyone up to full, like no problem. The whole check just became redundant. That's how powerful this spell is. I love it. Like when you're using it in a big pool and you're seeing the tank's health going from like 100k down to 10k, and then it's like, hold up, 3, 2, 1, back to 100k. Like, this spell is astonishingly broken. Like, I love it. What else has it gone that maybe people might like? It's got the cards. Like, the cards are a bit of a tricky one, but if you do it right, you get good damage boosts. It's, while it might not be the biggest hitter, a lot of people like Astro because it does bring the extra damage. So you've got your divination here. That is 6% extra damage. You put that on 8 people, that is 40%, 40, 46? I can't math today. 46% extra damage, which is a lot. Wait a minute, is that right? 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 32, 36, 42, 48. 48%, oh my god, I can't math today. But there we go. There's nearly 50% extra damage with divination. This is a monster hitter. Now, if you got things like a samurai in your party, you've got things like a dancer in your party that can bring extra heal damage, like, this class is a monster. You give this class a little bit more on the potency of Full Malefic, even just an extra 50, this class becomes a monster. This has the potential to be one of the most powerful classes in the game. I like it. It is a trickier class. I would say of the 4 healers, this is probably one of the slightly tougher ones to do, because you have all these little extra things to incorporate. But I like it as well, personally, because it is I like a nice challenge. It's probably not the most challenging. I would say the most challenging goes to Scholar for me personally, and I'll talk a little bit about Scholar. But yeah, Astro just feels super fun. I love it. Like, heals are decent. The cards obviously bring that little bit extra something to the table, and overall just feels like, as I say, it's a very pretty class. Like, there's just something about seeing like your character do that and just seeing all the stars, and just it just brings so much to the table. So that's Astro as my favourite healer. Honourable mention for healer, Scholar. Now, I'm going to tell you a story, troops. A year ago, or just over a year ago, I was the worst Scholar on the goddamn planet, and I'm not even joking. I was hopeless on this class. Absolutely dog water. I got this to 90 through Summoner, but I barely played Scholar. I was awful at it. What made it so tricky? Like, just like where Astro is kind of straightforward with, here's your spells that heal and all that, Scholar just had a little bit of a trickier vibe to it, I felt. But I went away, I went to Twitter, and I basically went, someone tell me the dipshit guide to playing Scholar. Someone went through it with me, went, this is what you do, use your Recitation, your Excog, your Sacred Soil, your Whispering Dawn, you do all that, you're fine. I went away, I learned Scholar, and this class has went from being probably my weakest class in the game period to probably one of my strongest healers. The improvement was absurd. So, to kind of put into perspective how good I went, I tried a dead ends run, and I couldn't even heal it. I ended up backing out before the first boss because I was struggling so much. After taking a bit of time and working away at it, it was Felcourt Troya. It was the last boss. I was the only one alive. I had 10k HP, and 99% of the time, people would see that and go, right, let's just wipe. Like, most people would wipe at that point, and I went, nah, I want to see if I can rescue this. I pulled that clear. Like, you know how to say you snatch victory from the jaws of defeat? I snatched victory from the squeeze of an arsehole. Like, we were getting absolutely destroyed. And I managed to just pull a clear out my fucking ass. Like, it was absurd. Like, it was unreal. Even my party stood there and went, how the hell did you clear that? How did you rescue that? And I went, I have no idea. I think I've got a video on it actually on YouTube. I forget what it's called. I think I called it I Am No Longer a Good Healer, I am God Scholar Incarnate. I'll maybe link that. But yeah, it was absurd how I managed to rescue that run. I'll see if I can find the video. I should have it. It is called... Yep, I am no longer good at Scholar, I am now God Scholar Incarnate. Please give that a watch, it was absurd. I don't know how I rescued that, but it just shows how much better I got at Scholar. Like, if that was me a year ago, I would have just taken the lip. I would have taken the L, I would have taken the loss, we would have just tried again. And I pulled that out. So, Scholar is a bit trickier, but if you learn to play it and you kind of manage it right, this can actually be a very, very strong healer for you. It's got a lot of OGCDs. The healing on it is quite strong. And again, like, in the lower levels, it's quite good because you feel as if you don't need to heal all that much. Like, if you're doing like ARR content, you're barely healing with it because your fairy does the work for you. So that's me and my healers, right? Melee. Now, I've got one melee. I don't really have an honourable mention for melee, but I do have one absolute favourite. And this will be the favourite till the day I die. It's got to be the Reaper. This class. Oh, God, I love it. I have played Reaper since Endwalker dropped. I cleared Endwalker MSQ as a Reaper. This, for me, is honest to God one of my favourite classes. The aesthetic, flawless. The playability, perfect. Like, this class, like, this was one of the classes I tried to rearrange my hotbar, and I kid you not, the damage output since then has been god tier. I have been an absolute menace on this class. It feels good. I think it did get a little bit of a weak, like, potency debuff. Like, I think they did nerf it a little bit. But even then, it still feels like an almighty good class. So, Reaper is... Unfortunately, you can't unlock Reaper until you've got to level... Is it 70? Yeah, you need level 70 to get Reaper. And I actually grinded to level 70 in my EU alt while still in ARR to get Reaper because I wanted it so much. I didn't even play Heavensward or anything. I basically just grinded to get Reaper. And I love it. Like, it's fun. Like, you've got a lot of big damage output abilities. The aesthetic is nice. And, I mean, there's just something about it. I mean, like, there's just something about turning up into a duty with a scythe like this. Like, so for those wondering what scythe this is one of my amazing Mandervilles. I have 18 of these. I'm going to finish the last one today. God help me. There's just something about Reaper that I like. I do enjoy the other melees. Like, I would probably say my second most played melee is probably... It's between Samurai and Monk. Monk is quite fun. I've had a lot of fun playing Monk as of late. And the Monk glam I have for it is super smooth. But there's just something that Reaper that just keeps drawing me back to it. I've been playing this a lot in Alliance raids and playing it a lot in my dungeons. It just feels lovely to play. It's super fun. It's just, like, it might not be the biggest hitter per se, like Samurai's biggest hitter, but there's just something about it that I just love. And it keeps bringing me back to it. And some of the glams you can make for this are super nice. This is actually a recent glam that I made for Reaper. This is the... I think that's the Crypt Lurker. It's either Crystanium or Crypt Lurker. Crypt Lurker. So this is the kind of Shadowbringers, like the end of Shadowbringers kind of glam. And it looks so nice. So if you're looking for a fun melee, Reaper. This class is fun. A lot of people love it. It feels fun to play. It's just, when you play it right, it's big, big damage. So, with melee out the way, ranged, I'm quite partial to all three, but I do have a clear favourite, and that is, it's got to be Dancer. This class, like Astrologian, Dancer is very pretty to look at. It's very pleasing to the eye. When you see some of these attacks land, it's just so pleasing to the eye. Not to mention as well, if you meld your crits and you get good crit hits on it, it's a monster. Like, I'll see if I can do a good attack here. So here you get 20k, then you devilment. Like the damage with the devilment, hopefully this lands. See, you got 33k, but then you get a 50k saber. Yeah, it's pretty strong. I love Dancer. Like, this is probably one of the ones I'll say I'll do enjoy it because it is so easy. I know I said I like a challenge, but this is so straightforward to play. Like, you can switch your brain off. I love it. And it still does phenomenal damage. Usually the classes that are quite easy to play tend to be the more kind of the big hitters. Like, Samurai is super easy to play and is such a big hitter. Like, Paladin, like Warrior is quite easy to play, and I think Warrior's actually been the biggest hitter this patch, I want to say. I'll need to double check my facts, but I think Warrior's been the biggest damage dealer for tanks. So what else is there about Dancer? Like, it provides a lot of great support. You've got your healing wall, just shield samba, and a move that I think a lot of people don't really realise is that so good. Improvisation. So improvisation allows you to heal over time, and while you're doing your rising rhythms, if you get rising rhythm and you get to 4 stacks, you can then create a damage absorbed is equated to the amount of stacks. So if you get 4 stacks, and then you get your finish, like, I think you've got to finish it in order to get your kind of damage stack. So dance to the beat your own drum, granting rising rhythm, stacks increase, and then you heal over time, and then you get improvised finish. So improvised finish, we get it here. It creates a barrier around yourself and all party members. Damage absorbed increases with stacks of rising rhythm. So I think you've got to actually finish the hit. Like, you've got to finish it in order to get the damage over time. Not the damage barrier. My brain's switching off here. But it is really fun to play. I like Dancer. I'm probably going to do a bit of a rework with the hotbar because I feel as if I can make it a bit better. But yeah, it just feels so fun. I love it. It's powerful. It's got a big hit, and just feels so much fun. In terms of the other range, I do enjoy Machinist. Machinist is quite fun. It's just powerhouse attacks, constant. I like it. The only thing I'd say Machinist is that maybe it can kind of feel a little bit kind of boring to play at times, but they have added Disassemble to its toolkit, which reduces an enemy's attack by 10%, so that's pretty good. So yeah, and Bard, I've been playing that a lot. I've been playing that a lot in this relic grind, and I quite enjoy it, but I think for me, Dancer is just, like, you just take one look at Dancer, and it's just, again, it's got such a presence. Last but not least, casters. This is a bit of a tough one, because I actually do enjoy all 3 casters. But I would say the one that I've actually enjoyed playing a lot of as of late, and I feel like I've gotten much better, Black Mage. I do enjoy all 3 casters. Like, Red Mage, I would say, was actually one of my favourites to play, but since improving on Black Mage, it's very quickly become one of my favourites. So, Black Mage is one of those ones that's easy to pick up, but it's very difficult to master, because it's probably one of the only classes in the game that the rotation changes like every few levels. Like, usually, rotation will change for a class maybe every 10 levels. This changes like every 5. Like, it's absurd. But with Black Mage, big booms. Like, you've got your Xenoglossy, you've got your Fire 4, you've got your Despairs, you've got your big booms. This class is an absolute goddamn powerhouse. And I actually felt at one point it was actually underperforming compared to Summoner. Now, this beats Summoner by a long way. Because remember when they reworked Summoner, I actually said to people, this, like, Summoner is doing better than Black Mage by a mile. Now, this feels even more powerful than Summoner, and Summoner's pretty beefy. But there's something about Black Mage that just, it brings the boom, it brings the heat, it brings the damage. This class is an absolute weapon. So, it's probably the toughest of the 3 casters to really get down, because once you hit 90, you have so many spells at your disposal that you do get a bit lost. But, again, this is probably one of my weaker classes. I took the time, I worked away at it, and now it's very quickly become one of my favourite casters. It just feels amazing to play. And I mean, you just look at the damage it can bring out. Like, it's constantly topping all the logs. It just feels great. So, and aesthetically, it looks quite nice. I mean, gotta give Valley some credit here, because this is a really nice glam for her. For those wondering, this is the Moonwall top that you get. It used to be a tombstone, but now it's sack of nuts that you get in Razat Han. So, yeah, I think that'll kind of cover it. That was just me kind of talking about some of my classes, some of my favourite classes. Feel free to drop in the comments about what your favourite class is. Do you agree with some of my picks, or are you maybe like, no, this class isn't how much better? But yeah, that's kind of it. So that for me is some of my personal picks. But as I said, I've played all the classes. I'm quite well versed in all of them, but there are just some for me that, well, I will keep coming back to. And as I said, by the time this video goes out, I will have finished my relic grind. So yeah, I can't believe I'm about to finish it. So I'm going to jump off, and I'm going to get this relic finished up, because I am super close. Like, I'm on the last one. Like, I'll actually show it. So this is all the relics I've got. Oh yeah, I forgot I had Ingram in my bag. Let me put Ingram back. Oh yeah, also apologies if I sound a little bit choked up. For some reason, I'm very choked up today. I think my hay fever's starting to hit. But yeah, so by the time this goes out, my relic grind will be over, and I will probably be sleeping for the next week, because I have been at this for 16 straight days. And as I said, I'm super close. I'm about a third of the way. So I've got my dailies to do, which will get me about 900 odd. About 940 tomes, depending on newbies. If I get newbies, then I get extra. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as I said, if you want to kind of throw your picks into the comments, let me know what your favourite classes are. And other than that, my friends, yeah, that's pretty much it. I've rambled for about half an hour and fawned over my favourite classes, and who knows, I think Gunbreaker may become my main tank now, because I have just been enjoying it so much. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, like and subscribe, all that good stuff, ring the bell, and other than that, my friends, I will see you in the next one. Catch you later, my friends.